Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the Bernat Super Value Crochet Dog Coat. I'm going to be substituting my yarn today and I'm going to show you how to make this cute little dog coat, and it's actually a lot more simpler than you may realize. So in today's dog coat we have 4 different measurements that are here. You're going to have a small dog, a medium, large, and extra large. So I had Jeannie pull me some information. The small is about a Chihuahua to Yorkie size. Medium is about a Pug and a Terrier. A large is about a Beagle and a Collie. And the extra large is a Greyhound or a Labrador. So you just have to substitute the information. Let me show you how to read this because each one of these sizes is available within today's pattern, and I will go through that next. So in the instructions you're going to notice that there's brackets like so. So what's going to happen is that the small is the first one, medium is the second, large is the next one, and extra large is the final here. So what's going to happen is that you're going to decide what size that you want and you're going to commit. So what I would do is get a highlighter and circle the numbers or highlight the numbers that you want. So every time there's a decision to be made on a certain size, it'll appear in brackets just like so. So that's what you have within today's pattern. So you just have to look at which number is suitable for you. Let me show you another example above. So here's an example in the body section. It says work for a further 33, 49, 73, 85. What size are you doing? You just have to pick the number of the size that you're working on. So they're always in order of the sizes of the dog that you have. So whenever there is no difference on it, so for example in row number 2, 1 double crochet in the first double crochet, an increase made, and etc., you will notice that there was no brackets in there, okay, in that particular instruction. So all of them are the same, and it says repeat the last row 2, 6, 10, or 16 times based on the size of the project. So you just have to look at that. Whenever there's a decision you will always see it in the brackets just like this. So I'm going to be jumping around in today's tutorial to show you to do things in advance so that you can be ready for this project when you get there. So in today's pattern what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to show you how to do the neck ribbing first. Okay, and then I'm going to jump to the leg bands. So what we're going to do is that we're going to get you to do certain things in advance so that you have it ready for you. So here's the neck band. I am doing the extra size small here. Again, if you're doing a different size, just substitute the information I'm about to show you. So here's the band. It rolls up and this is the neck for the dog, and then you have the arm bands or the leg bands like so, and they are much smaller here. Okay, and we're going to be creating those. So they're really quite easy and you can do these in advance, and then once you're ready for that then you can move on in today's project. So let's start going through this pattern section by section. So we're going to begin today's pattern with doing the neck band. It looks like this. I put a stitch marker on to know which side I finished on, because if you're not changing color at all you're not going to have to fasten off your yarn at this point. You're just going to just come out to it like so, take the yarn and just go along the top like so. But if you're changing the yarn you may want to mark which side is where you stop to keep it consistent. So we need to create one of these, and there's a amount of number of rows depending on the size dog that you have right in the bottom of the instructions over here. So for this one here I'm doing the small dog, so I did repeat the last row 30 times, and that's what I have here. So if it was a different size dog it could be 46, 70, or 82. Again, the next size is just up to the size of the dog that you have. So it's kind of a neat idea, and this is really just single crochet working in the back loops, and the arm bands or the leg bands are the very similar way. They're just tinier, they're just smaller, as you can see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you how to do the neck band first, and then I'm going to jump over to do the legs, and then we're going to then start working on the body after that. And before I move on, just to let you know, there are 2 different size crochet hooks being asked in this pattern. The neck is a smaller size crochet hook. It's a size 4mm USF, and then the rest of it is 4.5mm size G crochet hook. So you'll notice that the neck here is going to be a lot tighter than what you'll see with the legs, just like this. So you'll notice that there's a significant difference in the gauging as a result of changing the hook. In today's pattern I am substituting the Bernat Super Value with Bernat Maker Fashion. This is like a cotton yarn. This one can be used for beach wear as far as like cover ups and etc. So I'm figuring if it can be used and get wet for that, why can't it be used for a dog? So this is a very strong material like so. It does have stretching capabilities, so when you're going to look at it you'll notice that it stretches. Maybe easier to get it over to the dog's head, especially if it's trying to jump around on you. So let's begin doing the neck. So using the smaller size hook, this is a 4mm size F, you're going to create a slip knot. Make sure there's a little bit of an extra long tail so you can hide in the loose ends after the end. You don't want anything coming out for your dog. You're just gonna start off with a slip knot, and you're going to, for all sizes, it's the same width. Okay, so it's gonna be chaining of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you're gonna notice that it's gonna look big, but it's gonna compress within the next couple rounds or a couple rows. So second chain from the hook, you're just gonna single crochet yourself back across this chain, and there will be a total of 7 single crochets left by the time you get back over to the other side. So it's just single crocheting into the back loop only of your particular neck thing that you have and neck ribbing that you have going on. So what you're gonna do for every row now going forward after we finish this is that we are going to work in the back loop only to create that ribbing look, and the ribbing is not just for show, it's actually for practicality of making it expand and contract on your dog. So you're gonna turn your work, and every row now going forward for the amount of times that it says in the pattern, you're just gonna chain up 1, and you're going to go into the first one but in the back loop only. Okay, so when you go into a stitch, there's usually 2 strings, and if you did in the front, it'd be a front loop, and if you only go into the back, it's a back loop. If you go into both, it's called a stitch. So into the back loop only, starting on the first one, you're just gonna single crochet yourself across. So every time you turn, you just chain up 1 and continue to go in the back loops. So because you're doing this every row, you're going to end up with the ribbing effect that you see. Okay, so I'm going into the back loops only. You can see the ribbing effect is taking effect immediately, and you're really gonna see it coming forward. So once you get that row done, turn it again, and then chain up 1 and back loop only. So you want to complete it the number of chains that it's, or number of rows that it says. So for a total of the different sizes, so there's gonna be a total of 30 extra rows for the smaller size, and there's gonna be 46, 70, or 82 depending on the size dog that you have. If you have a dog that's full grown, you can just continue to go around as well and just try to get it closer if it's a little bit loose, and it's just a matter of going into the back loops only of that idea as you go all the way around. So once you get that done, then you're gonna have a total of a band just like so, and then I want you to leave an extra long tail just because I want you to, and then what you're gonna do is that you're gonna come to the end like so, and then you're just gonna either hold if you want to keep the same color, or create an extra long tail if you would like to change it at that point, because the next part of this project starts here. So see where the string is? It's gonna go along this edge here. So I want you to put that aside, and then I want you to move on to the leg bands next, and then I'll show you how to do that as well. For the leg bands, there's gonna be a total of 2 of them. You can do these in advance as well. Get those ready for you. So you wanna leave an extra long tail when you go to finish off so that you can use to sew these, because these are going to be a complete circle like so, and so the paws are gonna come through and the legs are gonna come through here. So what you have to do is that you have 2 size crochet hooks. In this one it does not say to use the smaller hook, so you wanna go back to, you wanna go to the big one now, 4.5 millimeter size G crochet hook instead of the small one that you use for the neck, and you wanna create these. It's exactly the same concept as you did before. The only difference is that there's less stitches across, but the bands are different sizes, lengths depending on the size of your dog. So you wanna start off with the slip knot like you had before, and all of them are the same distance going across, so they're all just gonna be chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and coming in then you're going to go second chain from the hook on the back loop only and single crochet yourself across. So there's gonna be a total of 5 stitches going across these bands. So it's gonna be very quick and easy to do these little pieces, and I recommend that you do it up front just as one less thing for you to do later, and then you can really focus on the body. Once you turn your work, it's like the same before, just chain up 1 and go into the back loop only and single crochet yourself across. So the band lengths are different depending on the size of your dog. So for mine, being the small, it's only gonna be 5 inches long, and then if you want to do the other sizes, it could be 6, it could be 8, or 9.5 depending on your dog. So again, the back loops only, and just continuing to go. So you end up with a beautiful ribbing that matches the neck, and you can do different colors. It all depend on your creativity. The colors really are not mattering too much, and that's what you have. So once you get that done, you'll end up with one done, and then you leave an extra long tail here, and then do a second one. And when you do the second one, make sure that you just kind of put it over top of each other. Make sure that they match each other exactly. Okay, so and what I wanted to do is that I looked where the tails are and noticing that where the tails are on the other one, and I matched it exactly as you see. So this is how you do the leg bands, and what we're gonna do then is that we're gonna move on to the body, and we're gonna grab our neck back up, and I'll show you how to continue from that point forward. So let's move on to the neck of the dog. So we have the collar already done, and you're not going to put it together like so. We're going to be working along the edge just like you see here. Okay, so don't put those together. We're just gonna work, and then we're gonna bring it together later. So there's two sizes of crochet hooks that are used within today's project. Now that you move to the body, you want to move to a G size 5, a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. So when I had you leave it, I had you either leave an extra long strand if you want to change the colors, and if you didn't want to change the colors, you're just gonna leave it exactly where it is, and we're gonna pick it up here and go across. I put it on a stitch marker here so I knew which side which was what, because I did this earlier. So what I want to do is that I'm going to change my color at this point so that the neck is a different color than what the body is. And what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to create a slip knot, and I'm gonna leave an extra long tail like so, and it's gonna say go right into the first stitch. So if you were not fastening off, you're just gonna chain up 3 from this point and work your way. But if you're changing the yarn like I am in the first one here, you want to attach it with the slip stitch. Okay, attach it with the slip stitch to begin, and then chain 3, which counts as the double crochets. So 1, 2 and 3. And what you want to do is that you want to put in a double crochet in each one of these pieces going across. So there's different amounts of count depending on the size that you're doing. So for my size, it's gonna be a total of 33 double crochets going all the way across. So if you're going to be off in anything, you want to be off near this section here, because this section will most likely be underneath the dog. So if there's any imperfection, that's where you're gonna put it. The straggler strings you want to leave on top of your project and capture them in. So you're gonna double crochet yourself across. Okay, so just coming into the next section along the side, and just double crochet as normal, burying those loose ends as you go. Okay, and we want a total of 33 of these going across. So you're gonna have to count those out. Unfortunately, my friends, sometimes you gotta count, and this is definitely one of them. Once you bury that yarn that you have been right at this point, you can bury it for about 2 inches, and then you can safely cut that, and then you don't have to worry about that falling out as well. So what I'm gonna do is double crochet myself across this and get my 33 in, and if you don't get it right the first time, just pull it back out and retry again, but don't give up, because it is a great project to work on. So now that I've buried it in enough, I'm going to remove that out. Okay, the strings here, and that I'm gonna carry on from this project. So get in your total counts for your double crochets going across the side edge. So as I come up to the other side, I got 1 stitch left. I will tell you, I didn't doctor that. It actually works out. Okay, and you can see that it's all equally spaced. See, isn't that neat? I love when that happens. Sometimes it's an accident, but today it's not. So let's move along, and let's continue to do more of this pattern. So let's turn our work and continue. So I'm not changing my colors at all. I'm just gonna keep the same gray. For myself, I had a dog once, and I know better than to do really bright colors, because sometimes it rolls around. So when you're starting each round here, you're gonna chain 3, and then you're gonna put a double crochet right into the same one below, and that's gonna be an increase. So you're making it slightly bigger by 1 stitch like this. So what you're gonna do is that you're just gonna put in 1 double crochet into each of the double crochets across, except for the final one. The final double crochet will have 2 double crochets in order to make that expansion equal on both sides. So double crochet yourself across, and then on the last stitch just put in 2 into the same one, and I'll see you at that point. So I'm getting up to the other side, and as promised, I got 1 more to go. Don't forget that turning chain is an actual stitch. So right here, there's going to be 2 double crochets into that final turning chain. Make sure you go into the chain and not to a gap space. So in this particular size that I'm working on, the small, is that it says to do a repeat number that's different from all the rest. So this size, so we want to turn our work, and it says repeat the last row, and it says 2 times for the size that I'm working on. But if you're doing the other sizes, it'll either be 6, 10 or 16. So when you go to start the next one, you're gonna chain up 3, and then you're going to put a double crochet into the same one that gives you another increase here, and you're going to double crochet yourself across, and then the final stitch will have 2 more double crochets into it. So what I want you to do is I want you to do this row one time and then another time for this particular size. So you want to repeat the last row the amount of times that it states on the pattern. So when I come back, I'll have that repeat done, and then we'll carry on in today's pattern. So I did the repeat the number of times that it suggested to do it. So that's what I have here. So it's actually just an additional 2 for me on this particular small size. Now we have to start working on thinking about the legs. The legs are actually an interesting point. So I want you to look at this thing from 3 points of view. I want you to look at a panel will go here, a panel will go here, leaving this as an empty space, and then there will be a panel on the outside, okay, leaving an empty space. So the legs are approximately right in here, and we have to make space for that, but we can't do it all in one pass. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna start off and we're going to fill it in, and we're gonna make a section up here. Then we're gonna fasten off. Then we're gonna do the middle section, okay, get that done, and then we're gonna leave another space and then do the final section just like that. So it's a really kind of a neat idea in order to do this, and it's really quite an easy pattern to be able to do, and I think that you'll really enjoy this part of it as well. So you'll see that this will create square openings or rectangular openings, and when you put in those leg bands that you had before, is that the leg bands will force it to appear as a circle once you get that done, when you have that section in. So let's continue to move forward, and let's get you started to do on the first part of the leg. So I want you to remember where you're starting on this side. So you're over here. So I don't want you to flipping this project all around once you get here, because it'll make the stitch work looking consistent. So use the stitch marker that you may have put in there, and if you haven't put in one, put it in right now so that you know that you're working this way across. So what we're gonna do then is that we're gonna start off with the leg shape on the first side. So we're going to chain up 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and you want to double crochet into the next 4. So let's just do that. So 1, and the 4 is for this particular size. There's other counts depending on the size. So you could have 4, it could be 7, 9, or 12. Okay, so you have a total of 5 stitches with that chaining of 3 to begin the first one. So once you get that done, you just want to turn your work. Okay, so just turn it and begin the next one. So we're going to then start again. So you're going to double crochet, so you're going to chain up 3. So 1, 2, 3, and double crochet yourself across just like this. Okay, and then it says repeat the last row, which is the same one that I'm currently working on, and it says for the number of times depending on the size dog. So I'm gonna turn it one more time, and it says to repeat it 1 time for the size of dog. So 1, 2, 3, and then just double crochet the remaining stitches. There's a total of 5 if you count that double crochet as, or the chain 3 as one of them. That's it. Okay, so that is the opening that you have section for the one side. And once you get that point, you want to be able to fasten this off, okay, and just weave in your ends, and you want to start the middle section now. Okay, so let's just weave those in, and if you go into the top section right like so and just weave it in and out of the stitches, the next time you come along you can just bury that in further, or you can use the darning needle to also bury it in quite effectively. So again, your call on what you're more comfortable with. So once I get that done, we're going to move to the center section next. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to look, I put the stitch marker in here so I know I'm continuing to move this way. So let's do the center section. It says miss the next 4. So I'm coming down on here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go to the 5th one. I'm just putting my hook just to keep it, and I want to create a slip knot. Okay, and I want to pull it through and join it with a slip stitch. And what do you think you're going to do like you did before? So let's slip stitch it. So you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and it says double crochet in the next either 21, 33, 53, or 63 depending on the size that you're working on. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing today. So let's just double crochet for this size. It's only going to be 21. Leave this straggler down on top of the line, and let's count those out together. So I got 1 and 2 and 3, 4, this is 5, 6, and I'm gonna let the straggler fall out now. So that was 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is 14. This is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So let's just determine, because I'm gonna take a risk. So if I skip the next 4, I should be left with 5 at the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and look at that. So what I can do at this point, if you are off by anything, okay, maybe I miscounted and etc., you're gonna need 5 stitches left over for the end on the other side. So if you have a situation like I just have now here, I may have miscounted, and what I want to do is that I want to reverse myself and go backward. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there is the outside piece, and then I knew that I had 1, 2, 3, 4 because I skipped 4 here on this side over here. So if I stop right here, I'm going to stay balanced within my pattern instead of actually just following the count. So I can always improvise later, but the sizing of the height will always be the same, like so. So if you want to change the middle, this is the point to do it. So just look to the outside so that you maintain balance. Once I get that done, I'm going to do exactly what I did before. I'm gonna turn my work, and I'm going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then I simply come back into each of the double crochets with another double crochet. So I'm gonna go all the way across again, and then I'm gonna turn my work and go all the way back, and if you'll notice, then it will be equal to the other one that's already been existing, and then I'm gonna move on and do the final section. Sometimes in patterns you need to improvise where you know that there's imperfection. Sometimes I have to do this with sweaters as well, where sometimes I'm just a little off on those shoulders, and if you follow exactly what it is in the pattern and you know you're off, your one shoulder is gonna be out of alignment, and your sweater will truly never sit on you straight, right? Because it'll always be off to the one side. So the same thing will happen to your pooch if you do the same thing. So you just want to keep it as accurate as you can. So once you get all the way back across, don't forget that turning chain is counting as one of the double crochets. So going into the turning chain and then turn around, okay, and you'll notice that the other side, okay, is a little bit higher still, so you want to go back one more time. So it's like you had already done before. Okay, so there's a total of 3 rows of double crochet here. So there should be a total of 3 in the middle as well, and then going all the way across. So please do that, and then fasten off, and then what I'll do is I'll show you how to do the final section, and then we'll move on from that point. So let's start on the final side. So here's where you were. You can see that I marked it here, and I've got my center in. Both heights are now the same. So now I want to do the final. So you're gonna skip over 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Go to the 5th. There should only be 5 stitches left over, and create a slip knot and join it with a slip stitch. Okay. Okay, so now chain 3, 1, 2, 3, laying down that straggler just like you did before. Okay, and you want to double crochet into the final 4. So 1, 2, okay, 3, and 4. So there will be a total of 5 double crochets if you count that chain 3 as one of them. So what you're gonna do, turn your work, okay, just pull any imperfections out, and then chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then double crochet yourself back across. Again, the amount of times that you do that is based on your pattern. Okay, so there'll be a total of 5 going across like it was before. And then turn your work and do your final 1, 2, 3, and at the end of this one I don't want you to fasten off your yarn because you're right in the right space to begin to continue then making this. So you're gonna notice that after we get past the next section is that you're gonna notice that the leg holes are gonna be right where they should be in this pattern. So you'll see that the paws and legs will come out through here. So let's move on and let's go to the joining row. So let's turn our work and go to the joining row. So this time now we're going to fasten and we're going to be making the holes for the arms, okay, or for the paws. So what we're gonna do is that we are going to start off and we are going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and you're going to double crochet in each one of these going across. But what are you going to do when you actually get to a gapping space? Well, you're gonna continue, and the amount of change is based on how many that you skipped earlier. So I skipped 4, so I'm gonna chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I just come immediately to the first stitch, okay, and I double crochet into that stitch and continuing to double crochet across. Okay, so it's really quite an easy pattern to be able to maintain. You want to bury in those loose ends as you can have opportunity to do so. So when you get to the other leg, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna chain over the number that it states, which is the same number of the chains that, or stitches that you skipped over. So in my case it'll be 4 again, and this will then make the holes for the paws to go to fill its way through. So remember that turning chain is also one of the stitches, so don't forget that. And then you're going to chain the number that you skipped over before. So this case it'll be 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then just immediately come into the first one, double crochet, and then each one. So there's a total of 5 left over on this side. If you remember from my particular size, yours might be different depending on your size. So therefore you've now just seen that the arms just went in for the dog coat, just like so. Let's turn our work and let's keep moving. So the next row is about filling in everything then with just regular double crochet. So you're gonna chain 3 to begin and then just filling in each. And so what are you gonna do when you get to those chains? Well, there's 4 chains left over in the one that I had. Yours might be a different size, and you're just gonna put in the number of crochets into the chain that matches. So in my case there's 4. So going right into the chain itself, not around the chain. So 1, and I'm getting the next one. This will be number 2. Just makes that much stronger. And then 3, and then 4 is the final one, and then you're back on the regular project again. Okay, so you just continue to double crochet yourself across. You will do the same, and then what you're going to do then is that for a certain amount of distance we are going to do the exact same thing, but this time we don't have to worry about any chain work at all. You just continue to go back and forth just with these double crochets till you get a certain size. So you'll need a tape measure for that as well. So let me just get to the other side of this, and then I'll just quickly review, and then I'll leave the rest in your hands, and then we'll come back at that time. So moving forward for the next then, either 4.5 inches, 7, 10.5 or 11.5 depending on the size of the dog, is that we're just gonna do double crochets back and forth regularly. So that measurement is taken right from this joining row. So for myself, for the small, I need to get this to be 4.5 inches tall before I stop, and then we're gonna start shaping in for the belly area. And so for your other sizes it's just a matter of figuring that out. So you're gonna need a tape measure then at that point, and you'll just continue to double crochet yourself back and forth, and you can see I have to go 4.5 inches. So I got a few rows to go before I get there. So please do that instruction. I'll meet you back here, and then we'll start decreasing for the body. Okay, so my 4.5 inches are now done at the top here, and I've stopped. So I'm gonna give you a little tip that's outside of the pattern what it's calling for. So what we have to do now is that this here is the shape of the dog. So let's just pull this out and I'll show you. So we fold it into the center like so, and this is the collar and etc., and everything is coming together just like this. Okay, so what we're gonna do then is that we're going to make space then for the belly to hang out in between, but we have to take into account where we are right now. So in order to do this is that we have to begin to slip stitch. So the number of slip stitches depends on the size of the pattern that you're working with. So it says slip stitch in each of the first 7, 10, 15 or 19. I'm gonna give you a tip right here. So what I want you to do is that I want you to slip stitch. So starting in the first one, just slip, and I'm gonna go 7. So 1 and 2, my size is 7, and 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So here's my tip. I'm on the 7th one. I have 6 left. So when I'm about to start the next one, so I'm gonna chain up 3. That counts as your double crochet, and you're going to double crochet, and it says to count a certain amount. Can I recommend something? just count and go until you get 6 stitches left on the other side, okay, because that's what that is. Okay, so you're just gonna double crochet yourself across and leave it so that the final 6 are empty, and it depends on the size that you're working on. So if it was the 10 to slip stitch over 10, you'll leave 9 empty. If it's the 15, you'll leave 14 empty, and if it's the 19, then you'll leave 18 empty at the end. Just an easier way to doing it, because sometimes like I demonstrated before, is that your counts can be a little bit off, and in order to compensate that, you just look for little tips like that in order to keep yourself balanced, and it saves you having a frog just in case something did go wrong or you missed a stitch at some point. Okay, so you're just gonna double crochet yourself, and in my size I'm just gonna double crochet myself, leaving the final 6 empty, and then I'm gonna turn. So you'll notice that the project is going to start really speeding up from this point forward as we work our way across this, because you're gonna be cutting off some stitches, and then we're going to be doing a beautiful taper that you see that the dog is wearing in the model. Okay, so you're just going across, and I haven't started counting my 6 back yet. I'm just kind of measuring with my eyes. So let's just count that. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Look at that. I just got 1 more to go. Been crocheting a long time. I can usually eye that out, but not necessarily get perfect each and every time. So what I want to do then is that I want to turn, and what we're going to do is that we're just gonna turn our work. So now what we're gonna do is that you're gonna notice that the dog has a tapering effect on the side of the body. So it's done in the first 2 stitches and the last 2 stitches. So you just have to pay attention to those 2 stitches the most. To start up with, what you're going to do is that you're just going to double crochet, or sorry, you're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, like so, and then you're going to then go to the next one, okay, and you are going to draw up a loop like so, and just pull through and through. And so it's gonna appear that these 2 are together. So whenever you come back to this point, you're going to skip this turning chain, okay, and now you're just gonna double crochet yourself across. Okay, so you just really got to keep an eye on that one. So the very final 2 stitches on this one here is that they're gonna be 2 together. So you're gonna put those 2 together in order to eliminate a stitch out. So you're gonna continue to do that same thing for a number of repeats, and in my case it's a repeating of 3 additional times after this row, and the other sizes are either 6, 9 or 11, and it's again the same concept of making sure that you're eliminating stitches out on the first and the last stitch in order to keep that taper going. So I want to get you to that point, and then I'm going to show you what to do. So once you get close to the end, you just look for the final 2 stitches, and you're gonna put those 2 together. I know I'm speeding across on camera here. You obviously know how to double crochet, so I naturally double crochet quite quickly. So here's the final 2 here, so I got 1 more to go. So the final 2 are gonna be coming together. So you're just gonna go in, so wrap it, go into the next, pull through 2 and hold it. Then you're gonna wrap and going into the turning chain, pull through 2 and hold it, and now you're just gonna pull through all 3 loops, and that becomes 2 together. So we have to repeat this last row 3 more times for my size. So you chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, and you double crochet into the next, and because of the shaping of it, it looks like that it's coming as a taper, and then you're just gonna double crochet yourself across until you get to the final 2 stitches. Now remember what I said is that the turning chain doesn't count as a stitch, so when you put the 2 together, just got to keep in mind that you're really looking at 1 stitch at the end, and I'll show you that in just a second when I get there. So this is repeat 1 of 3 for me, just keeping that mentally in my head. So let's look at it. So these 2 are considered as 1. Okay, so that's not 2, it's only 1. The next 2 are coming together. Okay, so these 2 belong together. This is here. Okay, so this will all go together. So I have 1 more stitch that's normal, and then the next 2 become together. So I go in, pull through 2 and hold. These two belong together, so I just come in the top of that top one, pull through, and then pull through all 3. Okay, so that was repeat 1 of 3. So again, to start the next one is just chain 3 and just double crochet in the next. It looks like it's gonna be tapering, and then you continue to do the same thing. So the final stitch of this row is going to become 2 together as well. And again, it's just a matter of keeping an eye on the final stitch of each one of these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave you to do the number of repeats that I suggest in the pattern. For me, I just have this row and 1 more to go, and then I'm gonna move on and we're gonna do some more work at that point. And we're actually almost done our particular dog coat, if you can imagine. It goes pretty quick. Even with filming, it's actually gone pretty quick for me. Okay, so let's look at our final stitches here. Okay, so we have these two, they become 1, they are 1, so then you got this one here, so the next 2 are together like so, and turn, and then this is your final. Okay, so chain 3. So final, if you're working on this size, 1 double crochet in the next. It still looks tapered, which is what you wanted, and then you're just going to go across, and the final 2 are gonna become 2 together, and that's gonna be it for that. And what I need to do is that I need to continue a certain amount of stitches in order to finish the top of this. So do not fasten off at this point, and I'll see you back at the end of that. So at this point in the pattern, what you have to do is that you have to get a certain amount of dimensions from the top of the collar here. It's the first one over, and in this size here that you just go back and forth and just doing regular double crochet back and forth until you get to the certain size. I've already hit it in my case, so I was looking for about 10.5 inches, which I actually have now already, so I don't have to go any further. But if you're looking for different sizes, it could either be 16, okay, so that if it was a bigger dog it would be 16, and then if it was the other sizes that would be 22 or 25. So this is where it would matter then really on that. So it's a really kind of a cool way to go. So once you have this done is that you're just gonna fasten off this yarn here, and what I want you to do is fasten off this yarn, and we are going to then sew the belly section together. Okay, so it'll be this section over here, not this. This rests on top of the dog. So we're just gonna fasten off, and we're going to show you how to sew everything into position at this point, but we're not quite done, so we're just gonna do that first and then we're gonna carry on. So now it's time to start sewing your project together. So right now it looks like a flat piece, and what you're gonna do is take that long strand that you had when you did the first section right here, and we are going to sew it together with the other side. So just fold it up and just sew it and just do a whip stitch. So come straight across it and then back into the project on the other side. And what you're looking at then will be the inside of the dog coat when you're doing it. So all the seams will be on the inside. If the strand is not long enough for you, then just create another strand in order to do this. Use the same color. So I wouldn't dare use the same red going up through here because then you'll see it. So then just whip stitching across, so each stitch matches each other, just going straight across like so. If you go in the back loops only of the stitches, what happens is that you'll get an invisible seam if that's desirable for you, and most people love that anyway. Okay, so just going into the back, I just got to get an angle that I can see better at here. This is a very, very strong yarn. That's why I like it for the dog coat. When Daniel suggested it earlier today, I was like pretty excited about it because it just makes sense. You know, the dog can run and play and you don't have to worry about your project being ripped apart with it, and it can get wet as well. So you're just gonna do that, and then once you have this sewn together, then you're just going to go along this with the gray color and sew up, and you're only gonna sew to where it matches underneath. Okay, so you'll leave this whole section open. So when you get this, you're just gonna weave in your ends of whatever yarn is left over, and you want to do match everything so it becomes like a seamless section. So most of the dog coats that I've ever seen have already been, it's always flat first and then it's sewn into a circle. I think some people expect some of these stuff to be done as a circle like a hat and then opened up, but because you have the legs that are spread out like that, it's not always the easiest way to do it. So just continuing to go all the way, and then once you're satisfied, just weave in your ends. So when you're weaving in your ends, because your dog is gonna be jumping in and out of things, is that if you go in and out of your project 3 times, okay, you can hide in your loose ends really easily, and they will never fall out on you because your project can never stretch in 3 directions at one time. So once I go across, okay, and then I want to go back in the other direction. You can see how strong this yarn is, and then I go back in the other direction for 2. Because this yarn is strong, I'm scared to actually ram this needle right through my hand, but that's what you want, right? If it's too soft, then it will get ruined. So then I go back a 3rd time, and that 3rd time is gonna ensure that it locks into position. And what that is that you can actually cut that strand right down into the project without worrying about coming out. So I want you to feed on additional yarn of your gray, and I want you to do the same thing, just sewing your gray section together like so. Just make sure everything matches, so then everything will be good from that point. So I'll see you back here in just a moment. Okay, so now that this is sewn, you can see that I'm still looking at the inside of the jacket or the coat, and now I have these armholes here. So you have your bands already done if you followed the way that I instructed you to do it, and what we're gonna do is 2 things. We've got to sew this to the outside. You're gonna notice that it's slightly bigger, okay, so that it has some power to be able to suck in, and then once you get that sewn all the way around, then you have to sew the 2 sides together using the same strand of yarn. So hopefully you left yourself some extra yarn on your band, and I would start on the inside right underneath the dog's legs right here, okay, and I want to start, and you just got to eye it out, okay, and just kind of match as you go all the way around. Okay, so let's just join. Okay, and so I'm just gonna be very careful about where I put my stitches because it's a different color, and I just want to match and get everything into position as you go. Now because it's showing as a square, when you do this and you start doing this, you're gonna notice that it will naturally turn into a circle, which is neat, right? It's kind of what you're wanting for, or what you're wanting to do. So once I get that done, it you can just work your way around, and then you're just gonna when you get all the way around, you're gonna notice that 2 seams will be open like so, and you're gonna use that strand and just travel up there and then just fasten off and do the same with the other side. Now that I have my legs sewn on just like so, I'm still looking at the inside. I have the seam on the outside here, and now I'm gonna turn it so that I'm looking at the right side of the project. Okay, and you're gonna pop those legs out like so. You're gonna pop that neck out. Okay, and there we have it so far, but we're not quite done. Okay, so you have the legs here at the bottom, you have the neck. You can always, if the neck's too big for the dog, you can always roll it down if you wanted to, but we still have a little bit of trim work around the base here. This is the belly. The back legs are obviously coming out here. So we're gonna take our red just as an accent color to be able to finish off the final round going all the way around. So using the 4.5mm size G crochet hook, the same size as you were doing the body, you're gonna start off in the middle, and you're going to work it yourself into each stitch going around. So just join it with the slip stitch, chain 1, and just going around. Now you're gonna eventually, as we come up really quickly, it's going to run into the side posts of the double crochet as you work your way up. You just have to equally space those in order to make those look good. Okay, so you won't have specific stitches to go into. Okay, so just moving that strand out of the way. So just make it look good. I'd suggest don't go into a gap like you see, go right into a chain work. Okay, it makes it look better and more refined. And usually what I would do with the double crochets is like it's 2 singles working its way up, and again going into the actual chain work of the double crochet, never into an actual separating the post from the main body of work. Okay, so here's, see, so I don't want to go into that space, go right into the chain itself and work my way across. So once I get all the way to the other side here, you're gonna notice I'm back on the bottom of this. So I'm just gonna trace it around the back. In the back you'll end up having your stitches again. So here's the back of it, and you just go around just one single crochet into each, and then when you come to the other side you'll be back into the side post once again. Just equally space it like you already did on the other side, and you're only gonna go one round of this, and then your dog coat is complete. So I'll see you at the end of this round, and then we'll finalize today's video off. So once you get all the way back around, okay, just one single crochet into each. Okay, it looks open, but that's that turning chain, and then just slip stitch it to the beginning single crochet, and then I want you to weave off your ends so that when I covered as it went over, so that's out. This red is now out. Now again, it's just like before, you want to weave in these strands really good. You don't want the dog tripping on any strands or anything like that. So if you put the strands onto a darning needle and go in and out of your work 3 times, just slide it up underneath the stitches. This yarn is like a rope, so it's very, very strong. Take your time doing it so you don't hurt yourself. Okay, so you're gonna go in once, go back in the other direction for 2, and then back in the other direction for 3. So now that it's in and out 3 times, that'll never fall out on me, and therefore I can trim it right down to the project, and therefore this dog coat is done just like you see. So you have your neck, you have your legs, you have the space for the back legs here to come out, and you have a really cute coat at the same time. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of Yarnspirations as well as the crochetcrowd.com. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye now.